Audiences were captivated when Dances with Wolves arrived, a sweeping Western that defied all expectations. Directed by first-timer Kevin Costner, the nearly 3-hour epic not only won 7 Academy Awards, but also revived a genre many thought was gone forever. Yet the journey from page to screen was anything but smooth. Behind its breathtaking scenery and emotional story are hidden truths, strange animal tricks, unplanned accidents, personal sacrifices, and creative risks. These are the 25 secrets that reveal how this remarkable film truly came to life. Number 1. Costner's $3 million rescue. Few films test their director quite like this one, and Kevin Costner found himself in a situation that would have sunk most productions. The original budget for Dances with Wolves was set at a modest $15 million, but as filming dragged on, costs ballooned far beyond what the studio expected. The sweeping buffalo hunts, large sets, and complex scheduling pushed the numbers higher every week, and the money nearly ran out before the cameras could stop rolling. Determined not to let his vision collapse, Costner made an extraordinary choice. He personally invested $3 million of his own earnings into the production, covering the shortfall that might have forced the film to shut down. This was not a small risk. Costner had just begun his career as a major star, and sinking his own fortune into an untested directorial debut could have ruined him financially. In the end, his gamble paid off spectacularly. The film grossed more than $400 million worldwide and became one of the most profitable westerns of all time, turning his personal sacrifice into one of Hollywood's greatest success stories. Number 2. The white savior criticism. When Dances with Wolves swept through theaters, audiences praised its respectful portrayal of Lakota culture and its deep emotional core. Yet, alongside its success came a wave of discussion that has followed the film ever since. Some cultural commentators argued that the story leaned too heavily on a familiar pattern, placing a newcomer at the center of an indigenous community's story, with the outsider eventually becoming its bridge to the wider world. The debate did not diminish the film's achievements, but it did spark conversations about how stories are told in Hollywood. Many admired the film for attempting to showcase native language, traditions, and dignity on a scale rarely seen in mainstream cinema. At the same time, others wished the narrative had gone further in centering native characters as the true heroes of their own history. This dialogue continues even today, serving as a reminder that great art often inspires not just admiration, but reflection and conversation about the stories we share. Number 3. Reviving a dead genre. By the late 1980s, the Western was considered a relic of the past. Studios believed audiences had lost interest in dusty frontiers and cowboy stories, with the genre practically abandoned in favor of science fiction, thrillers, and action blockbusters. Few executives thought a 3-hour Western would ever capture the modern public's imagination. Yet Dances with Wolves proved them wrong. Kevin Costner's ambitious vision combined sweeping cinematography with a heartfelt narrative that connected with audiences around the world. Instead of the shootouts and lone gunfighter cliches, the film offered an introspective look at cultural connection, identity, and transformation. Its overwhelming success, grossing more than $400 million and winning Best Picture, breathed new life into the Western. Suddenly, a genre thought to be outdated was once again respected and marketable. The film reminded Hollywood that even forgotten storytelling traditions could rise again when paired with authenticity and emotional power. Number 4. Rejected over 30 times. Before it became an Academy Award-winning film, the story of Dances with Wolves almost never reached the screen. Michael Blake originally wrote it as a screenplay, but Kevin Costner suggested he adapt it into a novel first, believing that a published book would attract more attention from Hollywood. Blake followed the advice, only to face a daunting series of rejections. Publisher after publisher dismissed the manuscript, convinced that a Western about a soldier living with a native community would never find an audience. In total, more than 30 publishing houses turned it down. For a time, Blake survived on odd jobs, even washing dishes just to pay the bills, while he continued to push his story forward. Finally, one small press took a chance, and the novel was released in 1988. Though its sales were modest, it gave Costner the foundation he needed to secure the rights and begin work on the film. What began as a rejected manuscript soon became the basis for one of the most celebrated Westerns ever made. Number 5. Two Wolves for Two Socks. The character of Two Socks, the curious wolf who bonds with John Dunbar, became one of the most beloved elements of Dances with Wolves. What many viewers don't realize is that the role could never have been performed by a single animal. Two trained wolves, Buck and Teddy, shared the responsibility of bringing the character to life. Both were carefully handled by professional trainers and taught specific behaviors, approaching Costner, running alongside horses, or standing still for long takes. Safety was always a concern, as wolves are not domesticated animals, and the crew worked hard to ensure a controlled environment while capturing natural movements. Despite the planning, not every task came easily. When it came time for howling scenes, neither Buck nor Teddy could perform the sound that was essential to the film's atmosphere. A third wolf had to be brought in exclusively to supply the haunting howls that echo across the prairie. Together, these three animals created one unforgettable on-screen companion. Number 6. $250,000 animatronic buffalo. The epic buffalo hunt is one of the film's most unforgettable sequences, but shooting it with thousands of live animals carried enormous risks. To capture close-up shots without endangering the actors, the production invested in one of the most advanced animatronics of its time, a lifelike buffalo that cost an astonishing $250,000 to build. This mechanical marvel was designed with moving eyes, simulated breathing, and realistic fur, allowing the camera to linger on moments that would have been impossible with live animals. While it gave the filmmakers incredible flexibility, the animatronic creature wasn't always cooperative. Malfunctions were frequent, and more than once the team found themselves waiting for technicians to fix broken mechanics before the next take. Despite the challenges, the costly prop paid off. It allowed audiences to feel as though they were inches away from the thunderous hunt, adding intensity to one of the greatest set pieces in modern Western cinema. Number 7. Neil Young's Buffalo cameo. Not every animal in the movie came from the ranches of South Dakota. One of the most unusual additions was a buffalo named Mammoth, owned by rock legend Neil Young. Costner and his team thought this tame animal would be perfect for close-up shots, since it was used to being around people. Once on set, however, Mammoth proved more challenging than expected. Having grown up isolated from other buffalo, the animal became anxious when placed among the massive herd used in the film. Instead of moving naturally with the group, Mammoth often bolted in the wrong direction, disrupting carefully choreographed scenes. The solution was both strange and oddly fitting. Young revealed that Mammoth had a weakness for Oreo cookies. By shaking the package, handlers, and sometimes Costner himself, were able to coax the animal into position. The sight of a director waving cookies at a confused buffalo might not be the image of Hollywood magic, but it helped save several critical shots in the film. Number 8. 3,500 bison on the plains. The breathtaking buffalo hunt sequence wasn't created with camera tricks or small groups multiplied on screen. Instead, the crew filmed one of the largest herds ever assembled for a movie. An incredible 3,500 bison gathered at the Triple U Ranch in South Dakota. Managing such numbers was a logistical nightmare, requiring weeks of coordination with ranchers, wranglers, and animal experts. Every detail of the hunt had to be carefully timed. Riders needed to push the herd in controlled directions. Camera teams positioned themselves in safe zones, and actors had to stay alert in the chaos. Any misstep could have caused injuries to people or animals, or ruined shots that took days to prepare. Despite the risks, the result was unforgettable. The thundering hooves, dust clouds, and sheer scale of the scene gave audiences an authentic glimpse into what the Great Plains once looked like. It remains one of the most ambitious and visually stunning sequences in Western film history. Number 9. Costner as his own doctor. Early in the film, a grim Civil War field hospital sets the stage for John Dunbar's journey. What most viewers don't realize is that Kevin Costner appears twice in the very same scene. While a body double lay on the table as the wounded Dunbar, Costner disguised himself as one of the surgeons standing over the patient. To keep the illusion intact, the crew carefully framed shots so his face was never fully revealed, and even dubbed another actor's voice over the role. Balancing directing duties with acting in two places at once was no small feat, but Costner pulled it off seamlessly. The cameo is so subtle that even sharp-eyed fans often miss it, yet it demonstrates the director's commitment to being fully immersed in his project. By slipping himself into the background, Costner left behind a hidden Easter egg that few realize is tucked inside the opening act. Number 10. hidden saddles on bareback riders. One of the striking images in Dances with Wolves is the sight of Lakota riders thundering across the plains on horseback, seemingly without saddles. To many viewers, it looked like the performers were pulling off incredibly dangerous bareback stunts. The reality was a clever bit of movie magic. The production team hid lightweight saddles beneath carefully arranged blankets. This gave the appearance of bareback riding, while still allowing the actors and stunt performers to stay secure during fast, unpredictable movements. With so many scenes requiring long gallops and close coordination, this approach helped reduce accidents while still preserving authenticity on screen. The trick was so well executed that most audiences never noticed the hidden gear. What seemed like a feat of raw horsemanship was actually a blend of traditional skills and modern safety planning, allowing the film to maintain its realism without putting riders at unnecessary risk. Number 11. Civil War reenactors as soldiers. The opening battle sequence has a raw authenticity that stands out from many other war scenes of the era. Instead of relying solely on Hollywood extras, the production recruited hundreds of dedicated Civil War reenactors. These history enthusiasts brought not only their passion, but also their own period-accurate uniforms, weapons, and knowledge of battlefield maneuvers. This decision gave the scenes a realism that couldn't have been achieved otherwise. Reenactors were already used to drilling in formation, handling replica firearms, and recreating the atmosphere of 1860s combat. For Costner, it meant he could focus on capturing the chaos of the moment without having to train extras from scratch. The result was a sequence that felt both cinematic and historically grounded. By turning to people who lived and breathed Civil War history, the production added a layer of detail that gave audiences a convincing glimpse into a brutal chapter of the past. Number 12. Bologna in the shoes. Sometimes the most unusual methods lead to the most convincing performances. Graham Greene, who played the wise Lakota holy man, Kicking Bird, was only in his 30s when filming began. His character, however, needed to look and move like someone who had carried the weight of years and responsibility. To achieve this, Greene devised a peculiar acting trick. He placed slices of bologna inside his moccasins each day before filming. The slippery and uncomfortable texture forced him to walk more carefully, naturally slouching and adjusting his posture as though he were older and more worn down. It was an odd but effective way of reminding his body to move differently without overthinking it. This creative choice paid off, giving Kicking Bird an authentic physical presence that matched the character's wisdom. Greene's dedication even earned him an Academy Award nomination, proving that sometimes the strangest methods can deliver the most powerful results. Number 13. Doris leader charges double role. To bring authenticity to the Lakota dialogue in Dances with Wolves, Kevin Costner hired Doris Leader Charge, a respected teacher and fluent speaker of the language. She became the film's language coach, working tirelessly with the cast to ensure their lines sounded natural and respectful. For many of the actors, this was their first time learning an indigenous language, and Doris's guidance was essential in helping them deliver believable performances. But her role didn't end behind the scenes. Doris also appeared on screen as Pretty Shield, adding an extra layer of authenticity to the portrayal of Lakota life. Having someone deeply rooted in the culture, both in front of the camera and guiding the script, gave the production credibility that set it apart from earlier westerns. Her dual contributions, teacher and performer, became one of the film's greatest strengths, grounding the story in a language and perspective that gave audiences a richer, more genuine experience. Number 14. Unplanned horse rodeo. Some of the most memorable scenes in Dances with Wolves came not from careful planning, but from unexpected moments. While filming at Fort Sedgwick, Costner's horse Cisco suddenly began bucking and kicking wildly inside the corral. The behavior wasn't scripted, and the crew had no intention of staging such a display that day. Fortunately, cameras were already rolling, and the handlers wisely let the horse continue rather than try to stop him. The spontaneous energy perfectly captured Cisco's spirited nature and added to his presence as more than just a background animal. Instead of feeling like a trained movie horse, he seemed alive with his own personality and fire. When the footage was reviewed, Costner immediately knew it had to stay. What began as an accident became one of the film's most natural and believable moments, reminding viewers that the frontier was full of untamed life, even in the middle of a carefully planned shoot. Number 15. Costner nearly broke his back. Directing and starring in Dances with Wolves was already a challenge, but Kevin Costner pushed himself even further by performing many of his own horseback stunts. The wide-open plains required long gallops, sudden turns, and complex maneuvers that were as dangerous as they were visually striking. During one particularly demanding sequence, Costner was thrown off balance and came close to suffering a serious back injury. The accident served as a reminder of just how unpredictable horses can be, even for experienced riders. Instead of stepping back, he pushed forward, determined to keep the film authentic by avoiding obvious stunt doubles whenever possible. His commitment to realism carried risks, but it added an unmistakable layer of credibility to the final product. Viewers could sense that the actor was fully immersed in the hardships of frontier life, making Dunbar's journey feel less like performance and more like lived experience. Number 16. Annie Costner's childhood role. Among the film's many casting choices, one carried a personal touch for Kevin Costner. His 6-year-old daughter, Annie, appeared in the flashback scenes as the young version of Stands with a Fist. These moments show the character's tragic childhood and how she came to live with the Lakota people. Although Annie's role was brief, it gave the production a unique family connection. She had to film intense scenes, including moments of fear and confusion, which were a challenge for such a young performer. Crew members recalled her professionalism and focus, even when the subject matter was heavy. For audiences, this detail usually goes unnoticed, but for Costner, it was significant. Casting his daughter allowed him to keep family close during the long and demanding shoot, while also giving her a small but meaningful part in one of the most important films of his career. Number 17. Why South Dakota won. Choosing where to film Dances with Wolves was no simple task. Early in development, several states were considered, and at one point, even Mexico was floated as a possibility. Each location had advantages, but none felt quite right for the sweeping frontier story Costner wanted to tell. The decision ultimately came down to authenticity. South Dakota offered the vast prairies, open skies, and rugged landscapes that matched the era and spirit of the story. The state also provided access to large herds of bison and local resources that were vital for staging massive outdoor sequences. Once filming began, the choice proved to be perfect. The rolling hills, wide plains, and dramatic sunsets became as much a character in the film as Dunbar or Two Socks. By grounding the production in South Dakota, Costner gave his Western a sense of realism and scale that no studio backlot could ever replicate. Number 18. Costumes from real materials. Every stitch of clothing in Dances with Wolves was designed with authenticity in mind. Instead of relying on synthetic fabrics or generic designs, the costume team sourced real hides, buffalo furs, and handcrafted details that reflected how Lakota clothing would have been made during the period. Some cast members even wore items passed down through families, such as eagle feathers or beadwork, adding a layer of cultural depth to the screen. This commitment to realism meant that costumes were often heavy, warm, and less forgiving than modern alternatives, but they brought a sense of truth that elevated the entire production. The decision wasn't just about appearance, it helped the actors inhabit their roles more fully. Wearing garments made from the same materials their characters would have used created a physical connection to history, reminding performers and audiences alike that the film aimed to honor real traditions. Number 19. Smithsonian-level props. Attention to detail didn't stop at costumes. The props in Dances with Wolves were created with museum-level precision. From the carved tools in the Lakota camp to the worn furniture in the frontier outposts, everything was designed to look as though it had truly survived the mid-19th century. One striking example was Major Fambro's office, which was built in Los Angeles and then shipped in pieces to the South Dakota set. The walls, furniture, and even the smallest items on the desk were crafted to reflect the military bureaucracy of the time. For the Lakota village scenes, symbols were carefully painted on types in ways that echoed traditional designs passed down through generations. These details may not be the focus of any single scene, yet they work together to immerse viewers in the world of the film. The production's commitment to accuracy helped make the story feel grounded, turning the sets into believable extensions of history itself. Number 20. The Pope loved the score. The music became one of its most enduring strengths. Composed by John Barry, the sweeping score captured both the majesty of the plains and the intimacy of Dunbar's journey. The soundtrack went on to win the Academy Award for Best Original Score, cementing its place among the great film compositions of the 1990s. What many don't know is just how far its influence reached. The music caught the attention of Pope John Paul II, who reportedly counted it among his favorites. The combination of soaring strings and gentle melodies gave the score a spiritual quality that transcended the film itself. This unexpected praise reflected the universal appeal of Barry's work. More than just background music, the score became a character of its own, guiding emotions, enriching the story, and ensuring that the film's impact would be felt long after audiences left the theater. Number 21. Honorary Sioux Adoption. Few Hollywood productions have been embraced as warmly as Dances with Wolves was by many members of the Lakota Sioux Nation. Impressed by Kevin Costner's efforts to portray their culture with respect and authenticity, tribal leaders extended a rare honor. Costner was formally adopted into the nation, symbolizing their appreciation for how the film brought their language and traditions to mainstream audiences. This gesture was more than symbolic. It reflected the collaborative spirit of the production, where native actors, advisors, and cultural experts played essential roles both on and off screen. Costner's adoption highlighted the connection that grew between filmmaker and community, a bond that strengthened the film's authenticity. For audiences, this moment underscored that Dances with Wolves was more than entertainment. It became a bridge of understanding. Costner's honorary adoption remains one of the most meaningful legacies to come from the making of the film. Number 22. National Film Registry Induction. Long after its theatrical run, the movie continued to earn recognition for its cultural importance. In 2007, the Library of Congress selected the film for preservation in the National Film Registry. This honor is reserved for works deemed culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant, placing the movie alongside some of the most influential films in American history. The selection was a testament to the movie's lasting impact. It wasn't only about the sweeping visuals or its box office success, but about how the film reshaped perceptions of the Western genre and introduced mainstream audiences to elements of Lakota culture. Being preserved in the registry ensures that future generations will have access to the film in its original form. For Costner and his team, it was the ultimate confirmation that their risks and sacrifices had created something far greater than a hit movie. It had become a piece of national heritage. Number 23. Native backlash over stereotypes. While Dances with Wolves earned praise for giving indigenous culture a prominent role in a major film, it also faced criticism from some Native American activists and scholars. They argued that, despite good intentions, the story still placed too much focus on the perspective of an outsider, echoing patterns seen in earlier Hollywood depictions. Concerns were also raised about whether the portrayal of Lakota people leaned too heavily on noble, one-dimensional traits instead of exploring the full complexity of their lives. For some, the film felt like progress, but not a complete step forward. The debate didn't erase the film's accomplishments, but added nuance to its legacy. By sparking discussion about how stories are told and who gets to tell them, Dances with Wolves became not just a movie, but part of a larger conversation about representation in American cinema. Number 24. The sequel that never happened. The story of John Dunbar didn't end with Dances with Wolves. Michael Blake, who wrote the original novel, later published a sequel titled The Holy Road. The book continued Dunbar's life with the Lakota people, exploring the challenges they faced as the frontier changed. For a time, there was talk of adapting this follow-up into a film, but the project never moved forward. Kevin Costner publicly stated he had no interest in directing or starring in a sequel, feeling that the original movie stood complete on its own. Without his involvement, studios were hesitant to pursue such an ambitious continuation. As a result, The Holy Road remains known mainly among fans of the novel. While some wish the cinematic story had continued, others believe the decision preserved the impact of the original, leaving Dances with Wolves as a singular epic without a diluted legacy. Number 25. Graham Greene's fierce dedication. Portraying Kicking Bird required not just acting skill, but an incredible amount of preparation. Graham Greene threw himself into the role with a dedication that impressed everyone on set. He spent hours each day studying the Lakota language, determined to deliver his lines with accuracy and respect. For Greene, learning the rhythms and sounds of the language was essential to making his character believable. His commitment went beyond language. While training on horseback, Greene was thrown to the ground during practice. Instead of backing away, he insisted on continuing, knowing that his role demanded a strong and confident rider. The combination of discipline and resilience helped him embody Kickingbird's wisdom and strength. That hard work paid off in a big way. Greene's performance was widely praised and earned him an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor, cementing his place as one of the most memorable parts of the film. Dances with Wolves began as a risky project, led by an actor stepping behind the camera for the first time. Yet it grew into a landmark film that reshaped Hollywood's view of the Western. From hidden tricks with animals and costumes to unplanned accidents and personal sacrifices, each secret reveals just how much passion went into making this story timeless. The film not only entertained, but also sparked lasting conversations about history, culture, and representation. If you enjoyed uncovering these hidden stories, be sure to like and subscribe for more deep dives into cinema's greatest films. And tell us in the comments, which of these secrets surprised you the most?